This is my son's 2002 Nissan Sentra with a 1.8 liter engine in it. And here we go again with code P0335, crankshaft position sensor. Several years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, let me look at my notes, at 147,000 miles, it would crank and not start. I do have a video of this. You might want to watch it also. I'm going to relabel it part 1. This is going to be part 2. But back then, it would crank and not start. Did a lot of diagnosing and testing and replaced the crankshaft position sensor. That didn't help. You could clear the code. The code would come right back after you start the car. I determined that code maybe has 2 meanings. It might mean that the cam and crank sensor correlation or synchronization is out of spec. And then I determined that the timing chain was stretched. You could lay it side by side with a new chain. It was about 3/4 of an inch longer. That retards the camshaft, so the engine can't breathe very good. That's why it wouldn't start. It didn't have good vacuum at idle. And then, let me see, that first video I believe I shot in January of 2015. It is now December of 2015. It had that code, same code, P0335 at 170,000 miles. It has 176,000 miles on it now. And when I shot that video back in January, I showed you how to test the sensors. I swapped the cam and the crank sensor, because they are the same exact sensor. I swapped them. That didn't help any. I take that back, sorry. After just testing them, pulling them out, swapping them, the car went for months, didn't throw a code, had no codes in it, ran fine. So now here we are at 176,000, and it hasn't even been 30,000 miles since I put the new timing chain in it, and I've determined it is stretched again. I don't know why. I put a O'Reilly's timing chain in it, which I think is a decent brand, I believe. Yeah, I can't remember the brand name of it. But I'll show you how to determine that. And I'm wondering if there is something that oils that chain that is clogged. I need to do some research on that. And that's why it's stretching if it's not being lubricated properly. I do know on my 95 Chevy S10 4-cylinder engine, there is an orifice plug and an oil galley, and that sprays on the chain to lubricate it. I'm wondering if this is kind of the same way and it's not being lubricated. I don't know, but it's stretched again after not even 30,000 miles. And timing chain is a pretty big job on this car. The exhaust pipe has to come down. The oil pan has to come off of it. Of course, the front end of the engine has to come off. And I can't remember if I took the cams out or unbolted the sprockets. I can't remember. But it's pretty intense job. And here's one other thing. I kind of did some testing yesterday. Of course, I took the sensors out. I swapped them again, cleared the code. Code still comes back. I tell you one thing, if you unplug one of the sensors one at a time, the crank or the cam sensor, you unplug either one at a time, the engine will not start. It will crank and not start. So if your car is running and throwing that code, then, I mean, you could have an intermittently bad sensor, I suppose, when the engine gets hot. I've seen a few of those stalling and won't start. But if the engine runs, then apparently the sensors are okay and they're working. But I'll show you a couple quick checks you can do. You can take a vacuum reading if you've got a vacuum gauge. You can pull this hose off right here. Pull this hose off. Put your vacuum gauge hose on this nipple that's on the intake manifold. And I did that yesterday. And with the engine warm at idle, I had about 11 or 12 inches of vacuum. And that's what I had previously years ago. And after the new timing chain was installed, I had 16 inches of vacuum. So you can do that test, which is easy. And also you could pull the valve cover off, which isn't too bad. Just unplug your coil. Coil unplugs, you push that button, slide these connectors off, take your bolts out of your coils, pull them off. You can leave the spark plugs in it. Remove this PCV hose right here. Remove this hose right here. And then around the perimeter, you've got Phillips screws. You'll see them around the perimeter of the valve cover, and you can take that off. I should have shot a video yesterday while I had the valve cover off, but I was kind of in a hurry. I thought he was going to need his car back pretty soon yesterday, but he decided he didn't need it till today. Once you get the valve cover off, you'll see the timing chain right here. And you've got the exhaust camshaft here, and you got the intake camshaft here. And if you look under the intake camshaft, which you're going to be looking down in here, underneath it, there is a plunger, a round plunger, and it's got some serrated teeth on the top of it. And that is your oil pressure controlled timing chain tensioner plunger. And when it was stretched last time and this time also, I don't know if there's a spec on this, but this is just my determination. That plunger last time and yesterday was sticking out probably an inch, maybe 1 1/8 inches. I couldn't really measure it. I just kind of eyeballed the distance. Because that chain is stretched, then that plunger, of course, is going to stick out farther against the tensioner to keep it tight. And those serrations, I believe, are once the plunger comes out, like I said, it's got oil pressure behind it while the engine's running. The oil pressure pushes that plunger out and keeps the chain tight. And those serrations are to lock it in place, and then as the chain wears, it pushes it out again to the next notch. So after I got the new chain on it last time, I know that plunger wasn't sticking out very far, and I looked at my notes and I didn't have it written down how far it was sticking out, but and I can't remember what to tell you, but it wasn't much, maybe 1/4 inch. I mean, it could even been 1/2 inch, but it wasn't nearly like it is last time and yesterday. So those are 2 checks that are pretty easy. Yesterday I did a lot of other stuff. I cleaned the mass airflow sensor, cleaned the throttle bore. It wasn't very dirty. I've done that in the past some. So that's a pretty big job, and I did Google it and read some forums, and a lot of people were talking about it, and finally found a couple of people that concluded the same thing I have. The timing chain is worn. I wish they'd have another code in that they could use instead of just that generic P0335. If it's out of phase, then, you know, tell us that, give us another code, but they don't. Let me look through my notes here and see if there's anything else I need to tell you. I think that's about it. Like I said, you might want to watch my first video. It shows you where the crank sensor's at and the cam sensor. And anyway, I think he might get rid of this car, so I don't know if I'm going to put a chain in it or not. And like I said, it's a pretty big job, and the car's old now. It's getting pretty ratty looking, so I think he might get him another car. So anyway, I thought I would tell you that, and this seems like a kind of a common problem on several different Nissan models. So hope that clears something up for you. Thanks for watching.